It's time to kill the silence. Hello and welcome to the Sales Podcast. I'm Wes Schaefer, the Sales Whisperer, your host. This is your home on the web for honest, no-hype insights, advice, and inspiration to help you sell more, faster, at higher margin with less stress and more fun. When I got out of the Air Force in 1997, I had a wife, a baby, another one on the way, and I had to put food on the table, which meant I had to be productive. I had to be efficient. I had to be successful at making sales. And I was. Over the next decade, I continued to succeed in various industries across the country, even across the world, which led me in 2006 to starting the Sales Whisperer. Since then, I have built a big business and a big family, and I have fed my family, provided for them based on my own skills, my hard work, my dedication, my insight. And now I give you this podcast as a free tool to help you learn what I have learned over 20 plus years. Another free tool that you can use to grow your sales is available over at thebestsalessecrets.com. Head on over there, and it's over 21 pages of advice, things including the 7 keys you need to apply to win at sales, how to look at money, and the true purpose of the sale. So again, head on over to thebestsalessecrets.com for that free tool. And now on to the show. Monika Korra, a fellow transplanted Texan. Welcome to the Sales Podcast. How are you?
Thank you. Doing good. Thank you.
So, I didn't start in Texas, but I got there as quick as I could, kind of like you, right?
Right. That's right.
Oh, well, I ran across your story very recently, and I'm glad you took some time to come on the show. And without making light of what happened, I mean, you're the ultimate story, I think, of turning lemons into lemonade, would you say?
Thank you for saying that.
For those that don't know your story, would you mind take a minute or two and kind of tell us, you're quite different from others I have interviewed, because you didn't start out seeking fame. It just, life kind of threw you a curveball, huh?
Right. No, it did. Absolutely. I'll tell you about what happened. So I am originally from Norway, and growing up as a skier and a runner, I was offered a scholarship to come to SMU in Dallas to run for their track and cross country team in 2008. And for me, that was just a dream come true. So I told the coach that was calling me about this scholarship that I would come right away. So I moved here to Dallas in 2008 and went off to a great start. I loved it in Dallas and did great. Had really good friends in Dallas, good teammates. But then my sophomore year, one night in December, right before finals were about to start, the season was over and we were just preparing for finals. And one night we got invited to a soccer party, a party for athletes at SMU. And we figured, well, okay, the season is over and we're tired of studying and we need a little break. So we figured that we would go to this soccer party. It was myself and 2 girlfriends and a guy friend that went over to the party that night. After a few hours being there socializing, we got tired, and we decided that we wanted to head back home. We had a friend of ours that would come to pick us up, so I called him and asked him if he wanted to come and pick us up because we were ready for bed. He was there 10 minutes later, called me up and told me that, Monika, I'm parked right outside the house, so come out when you're ready. So 3 girls, hand in hand, we ran towards his car because it was freezing cold out that night. But we never got into his car. Right before we entered his car, another car came pulling up right next to my friend's car. And suddenly I just heard screaming, and before I knew it, I had someone grabbing me from behind, and I had a gun placed next to my head. And at that point, I just realized that something terrible was about to happen. I saw that my friends, they tried to take a hold of me and tried to pull me towards them to save me from what was about to happen. But then the offenders placed a gun towards them. So there was not a chance. They had to let go. And the next moment I was dragged into a van, and the van just took off full speed. I realized quickly that it was more than one person. It was 3 men. in the van that night. I had the gun to my head, and I realized right away what they were about to do with me. They stripped me of my clothing right away, and the assault started. They raped me, one of them, two of them, three of them at a time, and the gun was present during the whole night.
Wait, did I lose you?
Are you still there?
Yes.
Oh, there you are. Yeah.
Okay, so you were saying, that. So the gun was present the whole night.
Yeah. And then, well, I have at that point, the time just felt so long. I have no idea how long I was in that van. They drove around for a while. They stopped, assaulted me again. But after a while, they took off again. And at that time, I was wondering the whole time, will they shoot me? Will they let me go? I don't know. I had this constant battle in my head. One part of me told me just to hold on, don't give up, fight for your life. And the other part of me just wanted this to end. I didn't know how, but I just wanted it to end. But after a while, they took off driving again, and one of them placed duct tape to cover my eyes, and they pushed me out of the van, and they told me to run.
Wow.
Yeah, but at that point, when something like this happens, you just lose all kind of trust in the world. So I was in shock, and I was scared. I was scared that they would come after me, and I was scared that someone that I would meet would do the exact same. So all I wanted was really to just find my way back home. But I was lost. I had no idea where I was at. So I just started to run in circles, trying to come up with a plan to figure out what to do to save my own life. So I think I was running around in circles for quite a bit before I realized that I have to ask for help. So I started knocking on some doors, but no one opened. This was in the middle of the night, so no wonder why. And I started to seek after the cars that came driving past. But at that point, too, I was so scared that I didn't really dare to stop there and ask for help. So I was just running back and forth towards the road, trying to find the strength to just stand there and ask for help. But after a while, I realized that it was freezing outside. I needed help. So at that point, I was standing right there next to the road, waving my arms, screaming for help, but cars just passed me. So after a while, I figured I just have to walk out, stand in the middle of the road, and someone will have to stop. A few cars passed me still, but eventually a car stopped, and a man came out, and he told me that just stay where you are, you will be safe. We're calling the police. And a few minutes later, I had a helicopter above me, and I don't know how many police cars just came pulling up, and I realized that I was safe, that I had survived the night.
I mean, were you even clothed?
Well, I had the dress in my hand when they pushed me out of the van.
Oh, okay.
It took me a while to realize that I should put that on, but that was the only piece of clothing that I had.
Right. So the police arrive. Mm-hmm. You get treated, but you did something remarkable. I was looking at your website.
Yeah.
And seeing the statistics about 74% of rapes are never reported, 15 out of 16 rapists never go to jail. You obviously took a stand, right? Somewhere along this adventure, for lack of a better word, ordeal. I mean, you decided to tell your story, but you confronted these people, right? They were caught.
They were. I was lucky. They were caught by the police, Dallas PD. They worked day and night for 3 days until they found them. So 3 days later, I got to know that they were all in jail, and I knew right away that I had to report this, because one of the things that just let me know that I had to do that was in that van that night, I saw other women's shoes. And that made me realize that they have done this before. I'm not their first victim, and I probably won't be the last if they will still be able to be out there on the street. So I decided that night that I have to just stand up for myself and everyone else, and I have to report this crime, and we have to find them and make sure that they will be held in prison for the rest of their lives.
Right.
And that's what happened. There was 3 separate trials. The first one started a year after the crime. The first one of them received lifetime, the second received lifetime, and the third one 25 years.
So why the difference?
The difference was because the third one that received 25 years, he was the one that the police found first, and he admitted to the crime right away, and he led the police to find the other 2. He helped the police a lot in that process, and he also testified against the 2 others in court.
Gotcha. So, this story is, it's tragic and it's enlightening at the same time, right? And you didn't run away from this, right? Would you say? You embraced it. You accepted what happened and said, I think somewhere in the book you talk about, I'm not going to be treated like a victim. You wanted to turn this around and pull something good out of this, right?
Exactly. That was important for me right away to find a way to turn this around. And we know, like, looking at the numbers, this happens every day all over the world, and we need to fight that. And that was the thing for me. I know how scared I was those first 3 days before I knew that they were caught, and before I knew that they would serve their time in prison, how scared I was, and how I tried to come up with a reasoning for why all this happened and why it happened to me. And I had all of these questions. But after they were caught and after they received their sentence, I felt like I received final justice. And I felt at that point that I was able to let go of this and move on with my life. And I know that in most cases, that's not how it happens. Most victims will never be able to see their perpetrators in prison, and we have to change that, because that was what's changed all of this for me. That's the reason why I'm able to live a happily normal life today. So it's really important for me to stand up for myself and everyone else that experienced this, and we have to try to prevent it in all the ways that we can.
Right. Would you say that attitude helps in all aspects of life? Even business as well, because I'm not in your world. I've got 5 daughters, though, and a wife. So, I'm going to make sure they listen to this interview. But in the business world, is where I've been for 20 years. And I see people have things happen to them much less traumatic than what happened to you. And they see themselves as victims, and they never move on. Have you thought about this at all in a business sense, and how others can learn, from this event to overcome any obstacle?
Absolutely. I think for me, even though in the time right after, I felt weak, but I made the decision that I won't live my life as a victim, and I will not make any excuses because of that. So to make that decision that don't be a victim of your past, move past it and move on and grow from it, learn from it. And I think that no matter what we experience in life, that is so important to make that decision and stick to it, because that's the only way to live a happy, good life.
Right. So what made you decide or give you the courage to write a book and to just be as vocal and as present as you're now becoming with this story?
Right. Well, I think for me, writing it started as just a means of my own healing. I didn't really think about writing a book at that point, but I started to write, and I saw how much that helped me to really just be able to put my thoughts down on a piece of paper and just empty my head of all of the things that was going on. So I saw how much that helped me, and during that process, writing for about a year or 2. Through all the ups and downs, I could look back at my notes, and I saw that there was a lot of things in it that really gave me my life back. And I realized one day that, well, there must be something in this that can help others. So that's why I decided to make this into a book, and hopefully there can be something in my healing that can help others fight through the challenges in their lives.
Right. How did someone approach you to write a book? Did you approach someone else? I mean, how
Well,
did
it
the
was
mechanics of that?
right. So first, after the trials were over, that's when I first spoke up in media with my name and my picture. And after that, someone mentioned to me, "Why have you ever been thinking about writing a book? I think you should do that." And that's when I started to think about that. And I got in touch with a book agent here in Dallas, and from there, it turned into a book.
There you go. So what are you going to do moving forward? I mean, you're working on like an organization. Do you see this becoming your life's work?
It is absolutely that's what I feel. I really feel like this is my mission in life, and this is what I want to focus on. So in 2013, I started a nonprofit, the Monika Korra Foundation, where we really focus on the awareness side of the issue of rape and abuse in society, and where we want to help victims of all kinds of trauma move past it and grow from it. So that is a lot of my focus now, and now this book and public speaking. That's what I'm doing right now.
Right. So what have you learned in the last couple of years about business, about running a nonprofit? Maybe our listeners could learn and take away from this.
Right, absolutely. I learned a lot from that process, and that was not my plan in life. I've been studying science, and then this came, and I just feel like this is what I want to focus on. But of course, I've had a lot of good help from lawyers and friends to help me get all of the paperwork taken care of and all of that, because it's a process for sure. But to really partner up with people, seek advice from people that already have done it before you, and build a team. That's the most important to run a nonprofit like that.
Right. But I see so many people, both in for-profit businesses and nonprofit, especially nonprofit. But overall, I mean, people are afraid of money.
Yeah,
But you need money to keep the doors open, right? I mean, you
absolutely.
can't take this word, this mission of yours, right, to reach the people that you can help if you don't have the money. So I mean, you're talking about having a good team, but I know for me personally, I mean, I'm going through it right now. Changeover in my own team, and I teach this stuff, and I still will bring on bad people. I always say, hire slow and fire fast.
Right, right.
So have you experienced that as well? I mean, how do you know when somebody's right for the team?
No, that's a process for sure, and that's been a learning process for me. And I made some mistakes along the way for sure, but I really have some people that I trust and that I know is in this for the right reason. And I think that's important, to really find someone that you know what they're passionate about, you know what they care about. And really, with a nonprofit, you can't be in it for the money. That's not the right reason. So to find the people that care about the cause, that's what's important. And I really feel like I found some good people for that.
Right. Do you feel, though, have you gotten better and realized the importance, though? I mean, you have to ask for money, right? You have to ask for donations. You have to ask for help, right? Even maybe free
That's
tickets.
right.
I mean, free travel, free hotel. I mean, something, right? Because, again, you can't do it out of your own pocket.
No.
So have you gotten tougher about having discussions about money?
Well, that's probably still my greatest challenge. That makes me uncomfortable every time. So that's one
Right.
of the biggest things that I really need help with, because I'm not in this for money, but still you need the money to run the organization and to be able to focus on this. But that's still really hard for me. It is. I have to admit that.
Well, I have a fantastic sales program, and for $197, you too can benefit. No, okay.
Maybe you should be a part of my team.
All right, we can talk afterwards. Anything for a fellow Texan.
Exactly.
So it's while you were going through that, how vivid is that still? I mean, do you remember like most of it? Did you kind of erase it from your mind?
Right.
How did you and how did you and did you ever decide, or did you just endure? Did you ever make a decision, I'm going to get through this? 'Cause I know earlier you mentioned, hey, I just want this to end, but did you kind of like slap yourself virtually and say, get rid of that negative, you're going to get through this?
So I have to say there's been several stages to that. At first, I think I just wanted to move on with my life right away and pretend like nothing happened. But I realized quickly that that's not how that this would work out.
Right.
But there's been really a learning process how to get through the different stages of it. But I want to say what's most important of everything is just you need to take it in. You need to feel the negative emotions. You need to be angry, to be sad, and to allow yourself to respond to that. That was the most important thing that I learned, that I just needed to be vulnerable. I needed to cry. I needed to ask for help. That was the only way for me to fight through this. And in that process, I felt like I regained a little bit of strength every single day, one step at a time, but to really be able to take your time to work through it. Because if you try to deny it, try to pretend like it didn't happen at all, I think it will come back to you one day and it will push you back. And for me, that was not going to happen. I just wanted to work my way through it right away and be done with it. And then turn my focus on how I can use this to help others.
Right.
And that's really where I feel where I am today. When I think about it, of course, I will always remember. I will never forget what happened to me that night. But that's okay. It doesn't hold me back any longer, and it doesn't bring me down. It doesn't make me scared. It doesn't make me angry. It's just a fact, something that happened to me. But it doesn't define me, and it doesn't bring any negative emotions like that anymore.
Right. Would you say, because you allowed yourself to be vulnerable and because at one point you were weak, that it truly did make you stronger?
It did. Absolutely. Absolutely. That was the thing that made it possible to work through this. Because if I hadn't allowed myself, I am an athlete. I grown up as an athlete. So it was challenging for me to really be vulnerable and to realize that I needed help.
Right.
But I learned so much through that. And I realized how much strength that gave me to realize I'm not alone in this. And I know that now. Whatever challenge I will meet in life, I'm not alone. I have people around me that will be there for me day and night, like they were back in 2009.
I know sometimes people feel like they're judged or looked down upon in cases of rape. I mean, did you experience that from anyone?
Of course, you always, especially with rape, the victim blaming, that is a big part of our society when it comes to rape and abuse. Sadly, it is. So, of course, I've met some challenges and met negative comments like that along the way. But that was one of the things for me to make that decision that I'm not a victim. I won't let my past hold me back.
Right.
I will not let it define who I am, and to just stick to that, to just keep telling myself over and over that I'm not a victim. I'm not a victim whenever I heard negative comments like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm trying to draw parallels, to this ordeal for you and business, because you obviously, it's a traumatic event, and I see entrepreneurs endure their own. Maybe it's a bankruptcy, maybe it's a divorce. You name it. They get sued in business, foreclosed on their home. I just interviewed a guy before you, Ray Higdon.
Yeah.
And he was, his book is From Foreclosure to Freedom. So would you say would you give them the same advice? Take it all in, allow yourself to be angry and vulnerable and cry and ask for help. And then once you own that, you can move forward.
Exactly. That's my message, that you need to feel the pain. You need to go through that and then come up with a plan and take one step at a time. For me, it was so important to just measure the progress, not thinking about where I was before this happened, but thinking this is where I am now. This is where I want to be tomorrow. This is where I want to be the day after. Take one step at a time, set short-term goals, set long-term goals, and just work towards them and measure the progress along the way.
Had a little control button issue there.
Oh, yeah. Are you okay?
So when did you begin to have that vision, though, and clarity? It's time to set some goals. Was it after the trial? Was it very soon after the rape? I mean,
Yeah. it started right after. That started for me the day after. I think that's growing up as an athlete. I'm used to that. I'm used to fight back. I'm used to fight through challenging times, and I'm used to setting goals and work towards them. So I think that came to me. That's a natural part of who I am. So that came to me right away. It
Right.
really did.
Yeah, I mean that's just amazing. So your website, and for us Americans, that don't travel very much, I'll spell your name, right? So it's
Yes.
MonikaKorra.org, but it's Monika, and then another KORRA.org, right?
That's right.
So is that the best place for people to find you?
It is. It is.
And from there, I see you on Instagram. I see you on Twitter. So I mean, what's your short-term plans and short-term goals? 'Cause I know your book just came out, right? So you're kind of on the whirlwind tour right now.
Exactly. So right now, that's my one and only focus, this book, and to spread the message. Public speaking is a big part of what I do. So for once in my life, I kind of have to just see where this can take me and how much I can focus on this. This is what I want to do. And I just have to, yes, like this did after this ordeal, take one day at a time and really just work hard to reach my goals.
Did you return to SMU and return to competition, or did everything change for you after that?
No, I wouldn't allow it to change for me. I returned to SMU right away after. So I graduated on time. I went straight back to the team, and I tried to find my way back to a normal life quickly after. And I think that was so important, to just try to live my life like normally, even though I was physically tired a lot in that time after. It also just reminded me of who I am and who I want to be, to return to my normal life. So that was important to me, to just come back to Dallas. Don't let them steal that away from me. So yeah, no, I went straight back.
Is it kind of a fine line between maybe getting back into a routine and to resume normalcy versus not maybe going back to the routine to avoid and even hide, looking and analyzing what really happened?
Right. And I think that's such a great point, that you have to still realize that you've been through something tough and you need time to really take that in and to work your way through it. So absolutely, for me, that was, first of all, I focused on my healing. And luckily, my coach on the track team, he was with me in that. He told me, whatever time you need, Monika, right now, what's important is to use running for your own healing. It's not to set a new PR right now. So I had a team around me that just, first of all, focused on my healing, but still to be able to just live a normal life and to be surrounded by the people that I normally was surrounded by, like my teammates, my classmates, and to have that team supporting me in the process was important.
Right. And I don't know anything about rape. I mean, but based on what you're saying, am I safe to assume that there wasn't as much physical damage or, injury versus, mental? So
Right.
you were able to get back to it?
Yes, I was. Of course, the worst physical injury is that you're just tired. And for me, all the medication that I had to take afterwards, the anti-HIV medicine, and that made me weak and physically sick for a while.
Right.
But absolutely, the challenges is the mental trauma that you experience after.
So in case somebody is listening to this that either is or was a victim or knows somebody that was, I mean, what can you tell them, or signs to look for? Or, I mean, is it going to be, is it a 30-day, is it a 90-day? I mean, is it a 6-month just physical drain you've got to push through? Is everybody different? Or how do they know, what to expect so they can prepare and overcome?
Right. And that's one of the things that I learned in this, that you really have to give it time, but time helps. And you will experience that you you feel like you're about to lose it. I felt like that for a long time. I was worried if I would ever find my way back to normal life. And of course, you experience all of the symptoms. You have nightmares, you might feel panic attacks, you might feel depressed, all of the symptoms that just you might never experience before, and that makes you feel like you're going crazy. I experienced that for a long time, but the thing was, I felt a little bit better every day, and to just hold on to that and let that guide you. But it needs to take the time it takes. We're all different, and we experience things different in life, and we heal differently. But to just really trust that you will be able to get through it, and to ask for help along the way. That's my best advice.
Right.
But for me, the worst trauma, I would say, the worst for me was the nightmares, and those lasted for about 3 to 4 months. And after that, I just had a few nightmares. So those really ended after 3 to 4 months, and that was the worst, most challenging part for me.
Right. So after experiencing the worst in human beings, but then experiencing the kindness and the outreach, I mean, has this event soured you on the human race or given you faith in the human race?
No, given me faith for sure. Absolutely. I met 3 offenders that did something awful to me that night, but all the support and love that I've been provided me with after, it's amazing. So it's just given me a lot of faith for sure.
And you met like one-on-one with one of the rapists, right?
I did. I met with him in prison that's about 2 years ago now. So that was important for me for several reasons. First of all, it was important for me to take the control back, the control that I felt like they stole from me that night. And it was important for me to have him to tell me in his own words what he did to me, and for him to acknowledge what he did to me. Because during the trial, none of them wanted to say that they raped me. They said what we did to you. They never acknowledged it. They never used the word rape. So I really wanted to go in there and for him to tell me that he raped me, and to acknowledge what he did. And then for him to promise me that he would work to become a better person, because that was the offender that received 25 years. So we know that he will be out on the street one day. And I just want to make sure that he is working every day to become a better person, so that he won't hurt anyone like that again.
Are you in touch with him at all anymore?
No, I have not seen him since we met then in 2013, but I am planning to go and see him again soon. I am. I need to follow up on him.
Do you think, you always see it's like, you want to ask, are you sorry or are you just sorry you got caught?
No, I did ask him for sure. I had him to explain for me how he felt about what he did to me that night. And he felt sorry. He cried during the meeting that night. He cried during the trial. So he felt guilty for what he had done. And he realized that he had done a big mistake that was absolutely unacceptable. And I will never accept what they did to me. And I told him that. But I do believe that it's possible for him to change.
Right. Well, that's amazing. Do you sound like you believe in the adage? The only thing you have to fear is fear itself. I mean, you basically faced your biggest fear and defeated it.
Yeah, and I think that's important. For me, that was the way to move on too. That I just had to stand up for myself, and I knew if I want to live a normal, good life, I have to fight my way through it. I have to meet my fear, work through it, and then move on with life.
Yeah. Well, that is awesome. Well, I will let you move on with your life. You probably have 100 more interviews coming up. So again, it's Monika Korra, so Monika Korra.org. All the way from Texas. I can cheer for SMU as long as they're not playing Texas A&M, okay?
Deal. That's okay.
Well, thank you for coming on the show. I'm glad things are working out for you, and I applaud you for your strength, your courage, and for spreading this word. And I hope this podcast helps you spread the word a little bit more.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
All right. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
I hope you were as moved and motivated and inspired by this interview as I was. I'm going to change up the ending of my podcast. Won't be the same as normal. It just doesn't feel right. I think you should visit monikakorra.org, MONIKAKORRA. Get her book. Make sure that the loved ones in your life hear her story and know her story. Any women in your life, make sure they understand this. The statistics she reported are shocking. You should not let that happen. You should not become a statistic yourself. If you've been assaulted, do something about it. Stand up. Reach out to Monika, if nothing else. Read the book. Get some help. Realize it's not your fault. Realize that the SOBs that did that need to pay for it. Okay, from a business and an entrepreneurial standpoint, I hope you realize that any excuse that you have for lack of success is just an excuse. Okay, Monika was handed a very ugly hand, if you will, and she's fighting through it. She chose not to be a victim. So I hope, regardless of what is happening in your life, divorce, drug abuse, alcoholism, marriage falling apart, bankruptcy, foreclosure. I mean, I've had plenty of guests on this show that have endured all of that, and they came back. None have I interviewed that have been this personal. I had Rhonda Britton on a while back, and as a teenager, she experienced the murder-suicide of her mother by her father. So that's the closest thing that it comes to this, and it's tragic also. It's different, but these types of things show that you are strong. You can come back. You can make something good out of a bad situation. So I hope these stories inspire you. So again, I'm ending this differently. Don't expect any music to come after this. As soon as I wrap up, just head on over to monikakorra.org, get her book, follow her on Facebook, follow her on Twitter, support her, have her come speak to your church or some type of group you may have in your own city. If you have a podcast, interview her, help her get the word out to inspire others and to protect others. Okay. So thanks for listening. Head on over to monikakorra.org. Thanks.